Us, everyone. How are we? Welcome back to the Kyokushin Shuffle. I hope everyone's well. And how are we going here? We're upside down here. We're in Australia, but then we're talking to Shihan Terry Birkett in Wales. Good evening or morning. It could be midnight. How are you, Shihan?
All's good. Thanks, Sensei Pat. It's still night.
Okay.
But only we're just go at 11 p.m. here, so it's not too bad.
Well, thank you so much for your time once again. We stay in touch often, and with time difference and daylight saving and all the above, and how busy you are with your work and businesses and so forth, and dojo and all the success of Real Talk. I wanted to congratulate you on that, and to Scott Heaney as well, because let's deep dive into here, and it's late there, so I appreciate your time. So Shihan.
Yeah, come on, let's go.
Yeah, all right.
I'm an expert now. I can talk shit for hours now, you know that.
So see, we got Shihan on last year. He was in Forever the Student eBook. Get a read of that. We appreciated him last year, and he deep dived straight into what I'm so passionate about, which is the other side of karate and Kyokushin. And if you haven't jumped on the Real Talk with Scott Heaney and Shihan Terry, you must. It's just a must. It's so refreshing. It's very cool and I guess easygoing towards the karatekas that are coming through in this format and this platform. And we get to hear you. How are you loving it? How are you enjoying it? And give us your take on it.
It's all good. But I mean, I've been wanting to do this for a while with Scott. So about a year, I've said to him, listen, because me and Scott talk all the time. So we have a chat all the time. We speak at least once or twice a week, 2-3 times a week. And I said, and what he started doing is we were sending voice messages back and forth as well. So I'd go off on a rant and I'd be like, oh, blah, 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 and send him a 2-minute voice message about something. And then he was like, oh man, I need to put this and post it. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I said, no, people don't. That's just me ranting. People don't want to listen to that. So he posted it and he was talking about self-defense and stuff and how the threat has changed. So your technique needs to be adapted. And then I was like, listen, we need to do a show. We need to speak. We need to do a show talking about stuff, right? You've got the martial way and you've got your martial long form that's doing really well. I've got the backstreet stuff. Let's mash them together and just shoot the shit. Like once, twice a week, have a 20-minute chat. And I said, we will talk about everything that everybody else is a bit too nervous to talk about. And I said, we'll call it Real Talk because we just lay it down on people and tell them how it is. So I was pestering him for ages to do it. And then other people come out. You came out with yours then, the Kyokushin Shuffle. That came out. And then there's a handful of other podcasts that have come out. And there was one that had come out that was a similar name. And I'm like, listen, people are going to steal our idea and they're going to come. It's only before long, someone's going to come out with Real Talk and we'll lose the name. So I pestered him and then we were like, right, we got on it. And then it's just taken off from there then.
It's been fantastic because you pick a topic, and for those that listen, I love it immensely because it gives me another sounding board of hearing other people's views and respected views of yourself and Scott, who again on the platform that we're currently using to reach out to others all around the world. This isn't just targeted to your Wales or to Scott's Canada.
What do you think? You are Australia. I'm in the UK, and we're having a chat about this now. Our technology is fantastic.
And it's needed in all levels. Meaning, for sanity of understanding what other people are passionate and like-minded individuals like yourself have in common with so many of us that are so passionate about the arts. And then, with that being said, the topical discussions that are hesitant to many in the arts, and again, like you said, it's shooting the shit. How many of us stay back at our dojos, or how many of us are at tournaments and discussing these things? And I can see you both do your absolute best to keep it very lighthearted and funny, because I get a lot of giggles out of it.
I tell you, sometimes we've gone down rabbit holes, and then afterwards we've like, cut it out. That can't be it.
Yeah.
Because it's it's the same as if me and you were sat down now having a drink in the house, in the garden, talking. Conversation takes all sorts of routes.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you start coming up with theories, and you start coming up with like hypotheses, and you're like, I reckon, blah, blah, and you say something wild. And then sometimes we're like, very rarely, only twice we've cut stuff. But we were like, we can't play this because it's too political, and it's like, it'll be like magma in the way the things are at the moment. We said, just cut it out because we don't want to alienate anyone at the moment.
Yeah. So we wanted to try and get you on, and I wanted to head towards a angle of the Forever the Coach, the episodes I've got there, because of your background in security and so forth, and you managing a team of that capacity. And, you know, you and I went back and forth, and let's get into about 5 minutes on this area in just others understanding a bit more of your background behind, not just only being the Shihan in the dojo, but also the teacher, coach, and mentor to many others in a situation now where there's no effing about. This is down the line, serious stuff now. How have you seen yourself in that time when you were doing security work and helping those other, you know, team members out? What was one of the key things or two that martial arts or Kyokushin helped you in those moments of helping your team out in these stressful, you know, situations? And
well, I was very fortunate because I had an apprenticeship in door work. You know, I was a young kid. I was 17 years old. I'd go down to the club and I read Jeff Thompson's book, Watch My Back, all about his life on the door. And I made a conscious decision. I want to be a bouncer. That's what I want to do. And at the time when I made that decision, I was just left school. So I was 16. And I was like, I'm going to be a bouncer. And of course, people were like, you know, a fucking bouncer, what are you going to bounce? You can't, you know, because I was a skinny little kid, and I was a kid. But I was like, listen, I want to do it. I read all his books. And then I had friends who were older in the dojo. In fact, that's where the door came from. A friend of mine, Gary Dickinson, was in the dojo training. He was a higher grade. He was having his book back off someone he'd lent it to called Watch My Back. I asked him if I could borrow it. I read it. And then, you know, when there'll be a moment in your life that changes the course of your life, then that one moment in the changing rooms of the dojo, when he let me borrow that book, changed the course of my life. Because I read the book and I was like, I want to be, and it's, you know, it can be glamorized, the world, you know, of, you know, meetings, going around doing a meet, grabbing people, snatching them, fighting people off, throwing people through windows, having people throwing, and it's like, it's glamorized a bit, but I mean, it's quite a seedy, nasty world to be in, where you're constantly looking over your shoulder. But I was like, I want to be a bouncer. I started going to the pubs. And Gary was a doorman, my friend then, and I would just watch. I'd just collect glasses. I'd be reading the books, I'd be collecting glasses, and I'd be watching what they did. And then they'd take me under their wing and they'd show me the ways. So I had that beautiful, organic introduction into door work, which then, so when I'm the old hand, when I'm the older guy and a head doorman leading my team, I can do the same. I take them under my figurative wings and I'll show you how to do the job.
Well, there you go. Because that angle of transitioning the hats, I call it, you know, to your job, your career, you're driven, you have to be, you know, very, very, what's the word, duty of care towards what's happening out there. But then you're also training a certain art that is allowing you to, you know, test your skills and test yourself. How did you, you know, someone of your levelness, how did you balance that in that time as well?
Well, I would never have been a doorman if it wasn't for Kyokushin, really. Because that was the only reason I was able to be a doorman, because I had that. And I suppose that the natural sort of fighter in me as well. I'm naturally tenacious, and all my family are. But Kyokushin, it channels it. So all that tenacity and that wild streak that I've got in me, it was channeled through Kyokushin and through training. So it made me into quite a formidable weapon then, Even when I was 17, I could still punch hard. I could hit hard. I was doing breaks. I was doing weapon work, judo, aikido, grappling. Although mentally I wasn't for want of a better phrase, cold-blooded killer that I became later on. But physically, all the bits were there. Yeah. And then it was when I was taken under the wing of other people, the first company I started working for, Marshall Security in Blackwood. The owner of that company had his own dojo built above his garage, and all the guys, they don't do it today now, but back then we're talking early 90s, late 90s we're talking. Everyone used to get together to get their pay on a Monday, but when you collected your pay, you'd have to train. So when you come to collect your money, you train upstairs in his dojo, and this was no Edo Geiko or Kion moving up and down. This was because he had a karate background, not Kyokushin, a different style. But this is how it's going to fucking go down for real. This is the stuff we're going to do.
Yeah, good.
And I never forget, I was working with someone and I went to strangle him, and I was trying to strangle him, and he bit my arm. He bit the chunk into my arm, and I'm like shouting, you can't bite. You can't bite. And he's like, this is fucking real fighting. I'll do whatever I want. And then I remember that next time we were grappling, he was strangling me, and I thought, I remember the bite. And I went to bite him, but he was much, much stronger than me. He was a man. I was 17 dealing with guys who were like 30 odd. And he just rammed his arm straight into my mouth and sort of pushed my jaw back. So these lessons of being dirty, superior strength, that has been I'm a big advocate of superior strength. If someone is supremely stronger than you, you've got to change it. You can't go strength for strength, because they will always beat you on that. You've got to think outside the box on it then. So that this organic sort of flow allowed me to start to understand the craft. And then when I took over my own clubs, so I was the head doorman, then I'd have my own team of guys, and I could sort of bring them on the same.
Yeah. What you're bringing to the table in Real Talks with Scott, and just in your social media platforms, which I encourage everyone to go and look at, is seeing outside the box, but outside the box meaning in a way of what you've experienced as well. And there's so many in Kyokushin and in martial arts that have experienced what you're just gesturing. And what I'm getting at is, your instinct straight away goes into, I'm getting strangled, people. I'm not going into, this is some serious stuff. And what I'm alluding to for everyone is, with Terry's teaching and philosophies and ways and the refreshing outlook on it, and hopefully it encourages others, to be honest, because you're at the forefront, I feel, in respect of just keeping it real, as you say, and putting it out there and challenging what is currently being done for everyone to understand and appreciate. We have these skills and traits in Kyokushin and in martial arts.
It's all there.
Yeah,
it's all there.
And I'm in agreement with you. And my Shihan is also, he's a police officer. So he's seeing, we've been able to tap into the things that he shows his team as well. Now, that being said, what I'm encouraging is how you are continually putting content out, and you're getting challenged back with some shitty people that are just, wanting to challenge you. I just want to keep encouraging you to do it, because it is coming all the way down to Oz. It is hitting the likes of myself and seeing it and going, cool, this is something that, you're doing in your club. And it's very, 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 very cool. I took a while to put it out there, but that's what I just wanted to continue to encourage you with. All right?
I by far don't put enough out. I should be putting much more content, but I guess, you know what it's like, Pat? Time.
Oh, man.
It's just time to do it. No. And I don't like to put shit out. I won't put shit out. It's got to be something that's good, and it's got to be something that's effective. You don't see me putting out stuff that's like, just for the sake of doing it.
It's
got to be effective, and it's got to be something that someone will be like, oh yeah, that's quite good, that is. Like the last video was a drop seonagi.
Yes.
But like I said, some people are going, oh, that's not karate, or they're like, you don't know how to do it. And like I said in the video, I am not a judoka.
No,
I said, I'm not a judoka at all, but this is a karate version of that throw. So this throw will work, and it'll allow me to carry on the fight once he's landed. This is no hip-on. This is not when he lands on his back, he's having hip-on. Once I've smashed his face into the floor, I want to be in a position to carry on hitting him.
And you're exactly spot on. And that's why I wanted to chat to you quickly meaning to get you going as soon as I could, because you're putting this out there, you're on Real Talks, you're putting yourself out there, and you're challenging it as much as you can, but you're also educating people out there as well. And it's like, for fuck's sake, can we just keep, let's just keep training. Let's just keep working as best we can. Yes, you're not an 8th dan in judo, but you're having a crack, as we say here in Oz. You're having a go, and you're putting it out there. Now, I've been working on judo in some of the judo grabs. So we spend 1 hour. I call it the connection class, and it's every Tuesday night at my dojo. And the connection class means all things non-kumite. So we're not kumite. We're not here to do 1-2 jab kick. We're here to just fucking grab each other's gis, and we're going to work on some simulation on each other that has connection, where we're all starting to go, whoa, what's happening here? Now, I'm just working on the foot traps and the foot locks of putting the foot behind the other person, inside the person. And we just worked on a handful of things, and bang, there goes 1 hour. And I use the translation of, there's 52 weeks in the year. That class is 1 hour. That's 52 hours in the year. If you came to all of them, if you don't, eliminate holidays, eliminate this, 40 hours. That ain't shit. That ain't going to do anything. We're not going to be, but we have to continue to put our hands in there and understand and feel what it does feel like when someone's foot is behind your leg, your ass over. Okay, here we go. So, and then I work on that, and that's one thing. Then we work on 1 hour on tie clinches. I've got a black singlet in Muay Thai, who's a shodan of ours in our dojo. So we give him a bit of the floor to grab us in the clinch and show us how to get out, to show us
because that's exactly where a fight is going to go. As soon as punching range is closed down, as soon as 1 or 2 punches have been thrown and they've missed, you're straight into clinch range. Awesome. That's where you will be straight away. Grabbing the head, you'll be elbow, headbutt, gouging range. That's where you'll be. And I'll tell you what we don't do it. Well, I'll tell you what Kyokushin doesn't do enough of. It's always line up, Ray, Juyo Kumite, knock down. And they just do knockdown training, dojo sparring. We do like free sparring. So we'll have the 3-stage sparring. We'll do 1 minute of knockdown, get the punches going, get warmed up. Then we'll do a minute of knockdown with Kazushi. So now you're looking to take the bat. So you're hitting and trying to throw and grabbing and trying to take the legs. Cool. So you mix it all up. And then and then the 3rd minute will be all of that with open hand slaps to the face. So it's easy to spar when you're not being hit in the face. You're like, oh, I'm quite comfy here. The moment you start slapping someone around the face, it changes immensely. You watch Kyokushin fighters. There was a Shinken Shobo fight between Ozypov, the Russian, who was a top knockdown fighter, fighting another guy. So normally when you watch these guys, they're they're nose to nose, punching, low kick, loads of work. When they went to Shinken Shobo and there was face punches, they barely did a thing. They just worked around each other on the mat, threw a couple of shots, because they know it only takes 1 clean shot to land and you're out.
Very well said. And again, in respect of our time, we've got, again, it flies. We've got 5 minutes, but we'll get you back. We'll get you back. And again, to the listeners, as you can see, Terry and I, we're very passionate about this angle on it. So let's swing to a couple of things that you guys have spoken about in Real Talks, and that I love hearing your views on it. And it's Shihan Cameron Quinn's the Budo Karate of Masayama's book, and our good friend Judd Reed has just released his book where you're wearing his shirt there, The Ronin Years. Let's give those two lads a little bit of airtime. But what I wanted to capture from you, Shihan, up in Wales, and we're fortunate here in Australia to have them, consistently, accessible and, touching distance in that manner. And a gentleman like yourself who's invested heavily in the arts and with these people as well from afar, I'd love to hear how Shihan Cameron's book has influenced you in a way because of the new edition and what it's done to that part of the world. And also as a student towards it,
Well, I mean, I'm very fortunate to call Shihan Cameron a friend and a mentor. He was always a mentor from afar. When how old was I when I had the book? I can't remember what I said before we cut. But when I must have been about 12 or 13 when I had his book.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in comp. I just got into comprehensive school. So I was about 13, 12 and a half, 13 when I had that book. And I knew the fucking book inside out.
Wow.
I would read it all the time. I'd know it word for word. It's funny because I started writing a little notebook. So I've got my little green notebook. I showed Cameron when he came over. And I'm a shit artist, right? I love art and I appreciate art, but I have no artistic talent whatsoever. So in my little notebook, I used to trace his drawings out of his book. So when you look at the 11 models of Masayama and you've got there's a little picture of a crane and a man with a bow and stuff, I just traced them into my book. And I've got them in my little notebook. Still got them to this day from 29 years ago.
Nice.
So reading his book influenced me a lot. The philosophy, it's not. And I must tell people, it's not a technical book. You don't read this book, and it doesn't tell you how to punch. It doesn't tell you how to kick, but it gives you a deep-rooted understanding of the philosophies behind Kyokushin and why things are done the way they are, and why this yellow belt is yellow. The cultural and the spiritual significance behind it, because everything has a reason. It wasn't like, well, actually my favorite color is blue and yellow and green and brown. I like those colors. That's what we'll go with. Happy days. Everyone's happy. No, there's a
significance behind it.
It is, and it's funny because you look in Okinawa, the red belt is considered the highest belt.
Yes.
Same as in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they've adopted the red belt is the highest belt.
Yep.
In Kyokushin, it's the first belt.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
So it's kind of, that's why it was kind of red/orange.
Yeah.
So there's lots of significance behind them, and reading the book gives you that understanding.
Yeah, no, that's good. I appreciate you sharing that. And like I said, because from afar, in respect, it's just always good to hear it on that angle of what influence it has had, because it obviously has to many here, and we take it for granted. I've got to be brutally honest. We take it for granted, Shihan Cameron's avenue and those types of masters, respectful masters that come out of Australia who have traveled the world
you've got loads in Australia.
Yeah,
you've got legends there.
Yeah. And then that moves us to the next one, and then in Shihan Judd Reed, you got the shirt there as gestured, and he brought out his second book. And, again, I've been very fortunate being on the Australian team with Judd and Shihan and being friends and colleagues as such in that manner. But then someone like yourself, had him at your place, had put him up in as a seminar, and from that, what did you think of the book, and how has that influenced you as well?
Well, I haven't read his second book yet, because that's I've got a book I've been reading for 3 years.
What are you busy or something?
So you've been a twat now, like Scott. He's like, oh well, I've already started reading it.
Yeah. Hey, I'll be honest with you, mate. 2 hours. 2 hours I read it flat, top to bottom.
Yeah, I know I would.
And I'm shit at reading. I'm not good at reading. I fall asleep after 10 pages, but this stuff.
I'm saving it for special time.
Yeah.
That's
sure.
Bollocks, isn't it?
That reminds me of your episode, and kids out there that listen, I laugh because when one of Shihan Terry's episodes with Scott on Real Talk is their excuses and reasons behind training and the fucking and the no, I can't because the rug
slippery
is
regs. You can't do fucking push-ups on a slippery reg. It's dangerous.
I couldn't stop laughing. Same with this. So you haven't read the book. Okay, good luck to you.
I'm good. No, and I've purposely not read it because I've been reading this other book, right, for 5 years. It's been all around the world with me. In fact, it's a standing joke. My wife is like, whenever we go in, oh, you got your book? Come in with me because I'm finishing it. And I'm halfway through that book now. So I'm like, I am not starting another book until I finish that fucking book, which will be done soon. But the first book, Judd's first book, it's a very different book. It's a biographical account of him in Hombu. So it's very, Cameron's book is a very educational book. Yes. It's quite thick reading. You use it as a, you can read a bit, put it down, come back to it, come back to it. Yeah. But with Judd's book, that's a very inspirational book. If you need to kick up the arse in your training and you're like, I need to get into it, read Judd's book. Because then you're like, it takes you. I think I was in Ushideshi. I've read Nicholas's book and his book. I think I was there. I think I was there with them.
Well, good. Awesome. I wanted to hear that from you as well, like to hear that thought process, because again, I get, I see him, we get to chat to him every week about things. And then, the influence that he's had to many over the world.
Judd's such a down to earth guy, Judd.
And
again, we've watched The 100 Man. We watched The 100 Man, read the book. So just messaging him, same as me and you got in touch on Facebook. And then we just got more and more friendly. We got more and more pally. And then he was like, right, you're traveling Europe. I'm like, we need to fucking meet up. He was in London. I went up to London to meet him. And I'll tell you, this is the sort of guy Judd is, right? It is. So we've been speaking for a while, but we hadn't actually met. And I was like, listen, I'll drive up to London, which is about 3 hours. I mean, Australia, you have to jump on a plane to go to the next city. But for me, it's just a 3-hour drive up the road. So I said, I'll meet you in London. And then I was going to bring him back to Wales, and we're doing a seminar here, and he was staying at mine. But I said, well, I haven't got nowhere to stay in London, really. And he said, just crash in my hotel room.
Beautiful.
So the first night I met him, I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, he had a massive king-size bed. And we actually slept in the same bed. First night we were actually together. And that tells you the type of guy he is. He's so down to earth.
Yeah, how good. I appreciate you sharing that. That's cool. Little things like that. And what I will give you a teaser on in the new book is that aspect of him, where he's obviously had his loss of his great mate, Anton, who we were all great mates with, but I've known him for such a long time, and he's such down to earth, and you only get a certain amount of time with Shihan Judd, because he's active and busy, and he's been overseas for so long, and then he just pours out, and him and Norm write this beautiful book about the journey of the second part of his life thus far. And you start, for me it was like this, and that's why I didn't put it down. So get your shit together and put 2 hours of
I'm good. I'm gonna have to fucking start it tonight now, aren't I? I'm gonna have to start it tonight. So this book now that I'm trying to read has gone on another fucking year because of you.
Anyway, good stuff. Hey, Shihan, wanted to tap into something on a different angle. Put a different hat on for me, please. And that is, we gestured at the first start of the chat that I had with you, but I want to come back to it on a modern feel, and that's the coaching / instructing format that you have as a Shihan, as a fifth dan in Wales, in the UK, as such. How have you embraced this side of your chapter now? We're similar ages as such, and our passion and energy is a no-brainer towards what we're doing here. How are you embracing your next 5 years, 10 years as a coach, as an instructor? Are you the coach instructor that's, gesturing, a happy 20 students, a growth, you're busy as it is, but because of that nature, I wanted to catch that before I move into the next bit of where the next 10 years of Kyokushin are going to be for someone like yourself.
I mean, I've got a small dojo, so we've got about 10 adults, 10 little dirty kids, and about 10 medium-sized kids. So it's sort of 30 students, but
beautiful.
Separate. We've got a small room, so 10, and we're pretty full, to be honest.
Yeah, yep.
But the room is matted out. We've got bags, we've got everything up. So the classes are much more intimate, and we cover a lot of stuff. We go into a lot of detail. So no one gets away with anything. I see everything, and it's good because they have my attention all the time. So they're progressing better. And I mean, you competed longer than I did. I stopped competing sort of back in 2006. So when I was in my prime to compete, that's when I kind of stopped competing, and mainly because my Shihan Gary emigrated to France, so I didn't have a coach really.
Okay.
And I was still feeling a bit down from Japan that I talked about in one of the episodes.
That story. Yeah. That
so
was a really cool take,
it was a bad taste as well on tournaments and stuff. So I was just kind of like, and I was a doorman at the time, so my training took a different route, and it was all about realism. It's got to be real. There's no point in training for low kicks, no point in training to punch you in the chest. It's got to be headbutting, elbows, clinching, real work. So that's where my training took me, and as a result, my instruction is very much like that. My dojo, you ask my students, first and foremost, is real fighting, defense work. Then we look at knockdown. Then we look at tournament stuff.
So can I cut you there? And I appreciate you sharing that bit, because give us the listeners, and 99.9 are based in Australia here. How do you format one of your classes then? If you're basing it on realism fighting as such, put us into the binoculars there of you at the front of class and breaking down how you work on what you work on in a block of an hour or an hour and a half.
Yeah. So the class will be very similar, right? So I'm Kyokushin. I'm Kyokushin based. So the class will be very, very similar to how you would see another class, but the intent is different. So we train, we do a warm-up, nice hard Kyokushin warm-up, nice set, lots of push-ups, sit-ups, fitness, because I'm a staunch believer in, for you to be an effective fighter, you need to sharpen your weapons up. You need to be strong. You need to be fit. The stronger and fitter you are, the better you will be at implementing what we're learning. So we go through we run through Kihon, because I'm a firm believer that in solid Kihon gives you solid techniques. So that the constant hundreds and hundreds of punches, hundreds and hundreds of kicks all the time, put it into the muscle. It creates that sort of, I call it memory muscle, but I've in a bit of research, I found out there is no such thing as memory muscle. What it is the synapses fire in a certain sequence, and they kind of remember the sequence that they fire in. So there's actually no memory. The muscle's nothing to do with it. It's the synapses and the nerve endings, if you want to get really as some physio told me. He was like, there's no such thing as muscle memory.
Okay.
So
getcha.
As we're going through all those things and we're training, but the intent is different. So when we're working, we're not, I'm very much on, the generic Chudanski that people are actually aiming to the chest. And I'm like, that is not Chudan, and it's not Jordan. Chudan is the solar plexus. Make sure you're aiming there, or the liver, or this. Jordan is the chin, nose, and so that emphasis is there all the time. And I make them think, when you're throwing the punches, when you're throwing the kicks, we're not just standing here doing Sanjukai of everything. It's like, what are you hitting? What are you aiming for? Visualize it. Then we'll get involved. Then we'll get on with each other, and I make them do headshots. So we do lots of arm techniques to the head. It could be like we just stand there with your hand like that, and they'll be working, hitting the hand for target work. Then I'm very much quite lumpy and bumpy our sessions are. I'm like, right, just stand there with your chin out. Now the other person is just going to come in and just tap the chin with all the shots, moving around, grabbing, and just touch the chin. So they're getting used to that, throwing the shot to the chin. Because people don't realize there's a huge difference. You train to punch the chest. You train on your bag work chest height. You do that for 10, 15 years. When you want to throw a punch a foot higher to the chin, because there's a big difference, as we said, those synapses, it just goes down there. So the emphasis is very much on real fighting. We do a lot of grappling work, a lot of stand-up grappling work, a lot of covering and grabbing and clinching. Big, hikate, big thing is hikate, grabbing, pulling. So we quite often we anchor and we hit each other. We may do some bag work session. We may do self-defense work then, we're working off. If we finish with sparring with a bit of kumite, it's always, we start off knockdown, get warmed up. Then it's the knockdown with the kazushi. You have to grab, you have to throw, you have to try and take the balance. And then we'll finish off then with the around the head. So your last session is knockdown. So, you're comfortable. You're learning to hit hard and be hit hard, but you're also allowed to grab, close the distance and try and throw them. And you're also allowed to slap them around the face, because then it's a big changer. Next time you're in the dojo, spar with one of your guys. He's like, right, slap each other in the face. It's a big game, massive game changer.
We play I call it taps. Taps is just the language for the kids, and I start the kids off flush with that, and they're in fighting stances, and they're allowed to tap the top of the head. This is for anyone out there, and they're allowed to, if you can, tap the side. Be cautious of the eyes as kids, but and then away, and then they can tap that outside of the leg. So bend down in that motion to tap the leg, and away we go. 10 seconds on, 10 seconds and rotate. And I do it with the adults too. And it's that fun element of class. But I guess what I've learned of
you're tricking them into learning it.
Yeah. And then, but the angle that you've given me there, Shihan, is intent. And when I do it with the adults, I'll be pushing that a little bit more with a bit of intent factor, because I treat it as a bit of a loosener, so we got to loosen up. And you'd be surprised, kids out there, when you're doing taps, give me a message if you need help with it. But your calf muscles and the calf muscles have changed from the standard kumite motion to now whoop and there. So I'll add that in a little bit too.
And I'll tell you what a lot of Kyokushin people are missing today is I came up doing woko points fighting, because in Britain there was no, you had to be 18 before you could fight knockdown. So up until 18, we were all fighting point scoring, woko, nice and light on your feet, in and out, moving, punch into the face. So I stayed sharp and I stayed light. I didn't get the Kyokushin shuffle of just boom, 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 working. So that game you're playing, the tagging, that goes back to the point scoring days. And like you said, you're tricking people into learning it then.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. Now, a second side of that, in the segue of it, was your take towards your famous followers and fans out there on your social media platforms. But look, I'm one of them, and one of them in respect of always, like when you've posted something up, it always triggers something to a respect. So keep that up. But what I'm putting forward to you is, do you see, like you said in another chat with us, or what I may have heard, is you want to put more. Of course, you can put more up and share more. But my take for you is, do you, is it a thing for you that you want to? Is it something that you're educating us all? Like, what is your intent in what you're doing there to it for us? Because when I want to see it now, I want to go, okay, Terry, I know what it is, but I'm sharing it I want you to share it with the others. I feel it is that you're trying to keep it real, right? Like real talk, and keep it real in the fact of, hey guys, like you did a video with the Tetsui on the tie pad. You had a tie pad, you had one of the and you were showing how the Tetsui can just boom, strike it down, right? And I was like, and we practice Tetsui on Ippon Kumite stuff, and I show my students, there's the head, there's the nose, there's the chin, there's the temple, there's uchi, and there's all these beautiful things. And then there's you just coming in going, no, or, and then boom, across that way. And
just like, sledgehammer it down.
Yeah. So how do you go with that? Give us a bit of a take on it. So all the 50 million people that watch this episode jump on your socials and go, oh shit, so we can have a look, so they can have a look as well.
Yeah, it is, as you hit the nail on the head, Pat. It's about keeping things real. You know as well as I do, there is so much shit out there at the moment. There's so many Shihans about teaching regurgitated nonsense that they've got told further on, that has never ever been pressure tested, but because some guy told them that this would work, you know, if you punch a person in a certain place, their head will explode, but we've never tried it, and they've gone on teaching it because there's no pressure test in there. And because of my background, I can see it. I can look at things and be like, no, that's not right. That won't work.
Bullshit. Yeah.
That won't work like that. How you're doing it, that's not how people react. That's not how the adrenaline dump will affect you. You won't be able to do it.
Yeah. You nailed it then. The adrenal effect, and without emulating it and stimulating the body to that extent, it's difficult while you're training, because people
don't teach it. They don't talk about that. They talk about do this punch, do this kick, do that. They don't talk about the adrenal dump and the adrenal map and what happens to your body when you go through this. It is like an explosion going off in your stomach, and fight or flight kicks in, fight or flight or freeze kicks in. And people don't know how to handle it. I was exposed to violence for a decade. So I got used to it, and it's easy to talk about it now because I'm like, well, yeah, that would happen, and I would do this. I'd smash a bottle, and then I'd go for it. One night, a guy pulled a syringe on me. So it was in the club we were working in. There were some homeless people down and out and stuff.
COVID syringe.
COVID
was it?
No, AIDS syringe.
Shit.
this was back a few years ago, and we're all like, yeah, you know, it's like, get away from me, I'm going to smash your head in. And he pulled a syringe out and said, if you touch me, I'll give you AIDS.
Wow.
And then you're like, right. So what have I learned about this in the dojo? What kata covered this? If I go anywhere near him and he sticks me with that, my life is fucked. Yeah. So then you're like, right. The instinct kicks in. There was a bottle close by, picked the bottle up, smashed it, said to him, well, I'll just, my life and your life, I'll just kill you then. So we're both going to die. And then he scampered off. That was such an intense, it's like, fucking hell. He could have been lying, but do I want to take that risk?
Yeah. No.
That type of pressure.
I'll share a little mini story because of this nature of how we speak. I had a homeless man where I used to live 10, 15 years ago, a nice part of Melbourne, fringe of the city, but there was obviously some people that just lingered around, and one person lingered around, mid 40s, 50s, fragile homeless bloke, and took my bicycle, just my mountain bike, my that I just ride around the street in. And I walked around the side of the house. I could hear noise. I thought it was my friend. And it was this man. And in a big green jacket, think of a guy, long hair, not looking good. And I'm like, hey, buddy, you're taking my bike. And then he goes, just back off, and then it was like, oh, shit, here we go. And I was like, there's nothing. Hey, just leave the bike. You can go. And he had a hose. He had a hose in his jacket and had fuel. And he's just launched the fuel. And it's just drenched it just, in an instant. I'm like, oh, shit. There was no uke block or any movement.
Take the fucking bike.
But it drenched me. It got me good. And I within 3 seconds, it was did you just hit me with fuel? Now, within that 3 seconds, he could have gone and thrown something, a match. I'm done.
Yeah.
So I threw a Maigeri straight to him, just in that instance. And the Maigeri just hit him, it was nowhere near the fighting Maigeri that hits flush in the tummy and wins him. It just pushed and skimmed it, and he's hit back into it. But again, I won't go into more detail, but it got into that moment where it was I've got freaking fuel on me now because of this.
It was real. Then you were in survival mode. Yeah. And when the body goes into survival mode, you'll be surprised what we can do. You'll be surprised what you do. And them instincts kicked in. What I try to do with my students, I try to hone those instincts so that it's not such a deep shock to them. Like with the pressure testing, dojos don't pressure test today. And that you have to pressure test. The kumite that you're grading, the kumite test, that's being tested, but it's being tested in a very controlled, safe environment. I know I'm going to get the fuck beat out of me. I know I'm going to be tired, but that's it. I'm not going to get... Go on.
Which you've answered my kind of next part, which is our final part of this cool chat. It's the direction of what's happening now, and the direction of a Shihan like yourself taking it to this level, and us talking openly, and people that want to listen can take it on board. Those that don't, we're all good. We get the game. But what I wanted to just quickly share with you was that realism factor in a dojo like mine. And I want you to hear this, and I wanted to share some of these things so you can, and I've shared it with you in text and go, no, mate, we do stuff like this. And when we say, and when I hear you say others don't do it, there's a factor of me that goes, I don't care, like, like not when you say it, but when I hear it, I go, I don't really care what others do. Good on them. That's great. God bless. That's great. But there is that factor that Kyokushin and lads like ourselves, and I'm not, Shihan Sensei, but that are teaching these next generation in the realism of what's going on. And I'll just share one before the floor is yours to finish off. We do a situation via my Shihan, then when I came through, which is 2 minutes, 1 minute, depending on your belt, up to yellow maybe, or 2 minutes senior and above, green and above, of you're in the middle. Four of us are around you, male, female, more so males, and we are walking around you and pushing you along, and we can do multiple attacks, one attack each. Haymaker, Maigeri, grab you, boom, and you've got 1 minute, and you're on, go, and you've got it, and it's just obviously we're not going to punch the face, but we have to.
So like a shark tank.
Yep. It's exactly it. And we have to kia in that intent motion, in that realism moment. And within 20 seconds, everyone is bupkis. Everyone is fucking, and then get him to the ground, and the voicing and get him to the ground, and boom, and then we'll do a trip. And one of our senpais will grab you in a bear hug, and you're fucking up in the air, and then boom, down, and then get back up, and we help you get back up. But that 1 minute, you finish like this. And we do that weekly with the seniors in a class I've got. So I just wanted to share it with you. That's an exercise we do, and then we rotate it. Then the next, right, Terry, you're in, and then you're on the. Okay, I've got to use my smarts here. There's three in front of me, one on the side, no one behind me. Great, I'll stay here for now. Then someone gets behind me, and it's like shit. And then you got all that stuff, all that factors come into it, and then I summarize it with. How many Chudansuki rip punches did you do then? Or how many Giram or washis were going to be effective then? 0, or maybe the one landed and the Yokogeri might have worked when he came through, and then we talk like that, and then it opens up. Now, I pinched a bit of that, like my Shihan guided us on that, and then I use a bit of the jiu-jitsu teaching of what I've seen and what I watch of the summarization of just a basic, just a good, just summarize now the this could have happened and that could have happened. Are we clear? Are we okay? Do we understand? And we move on. How are you seeing the next block of teaching and direction in Kyokushin, Shihan?
I think we've got to go, for me personally with Kyokushin, I think we've got to go back. We've got to go back a few decades before the World Tournament. And you've got to go back to Sosai's original books. It's 3 books. What is karate? This is karate, advanced karate. And the real elements of karate are in that book. 95%, maybe 99% of kata is stand-up grappling. 99% of your fights, if you don't land the first shot, will end up into a grappling range. 99% of fights. If you haven't sparked them out before they move, you're in grappling. You're grabbing, and then all your blocks, your Gaiden Bryce, your Jordan Ukes, Uchuke, Sote Ukes, they're not for blocking a punch. They're for disengagement and entangling and you trapping the arms and smashing. That's when your blocks come into effect. So we need to re-educate people, because this people now has been training 20 years. They Nidan. And they've never done a throw, never punched to the face. They've only ever done knockdown. And these things that we're talking about are completely alien to them. And if you want to do Kyokushin and you want to enter tournaments, you want to be a knockdown fighter, that's fantastic. That's brilliant. Okay. And that's all you want to do. Then that's brilliant as well. That's fantastic. You're going to be in a better position than someone that does nothing. Awesome. But don't be delusional. Don't think I can now kick ass. If some shit goes down and there's terrorists here, I'm going to be able to clear everybody out with a spoon. It's that shit. It don't work like that unless you're drilling it It won't work for you in real life.
Yeah, very good. Very good. And again, appreciate your time with it. And I know we could continue on. We could both talk underwater, no problem at all. But, you know, with respect of your time, it's late there, and just getting you back on, I immensely appreciate it. And like I've envisaged the podcast, the Kyokushin Shuffle is to groom, it was to groom guests and guests in respect of, consistently coming back, and I gestured that to you. I wanted you to be that for the shuffle. And what led last year was, you know, a project that all of a sudden it just took off, and it was like Forever the Student just went through the roof, and people were loving it. And then the book, and then I was like, oh, I'll keep it there. And then I've got Forever the Coach now, and I'm aiming in different avenues of coaching because it's a passion of mine. And the theme there is talking to someone that I can't go to your dojo. I can't be there in 20 minutes. And, you know, so I can't train under you, and that's been a thing of mine for a long time. I wonder what they're up to. And yet the mystique of like, no, keep it, people keep shit to themselves, Pat, you know, but no, not anymore. These platforms are open, which leads me to everyone. Make sure you tap into Shihan Terry and Senpai Scott Heaney's Real Talk and the Martial Way. Those lads have got some awesome topics. I drive into Melbourne from my home. It takes about an hour to get to the dojo, where my dojo is, and that's what I listen to. And I've told you that before. I'm good, and I listen to that and catch up on all the fun stuff as well. And great topics, open conversation, and you know the friendship and respectfulness of what you two are bringing to the table is really cool. So keep it up. Floor's yours.
Thanks very much. Well, yeah, we just, like I said to people, subscribe, listen. The Real Talk, like you said, we want to keep it real. It's all about keeping it real. We're not going to blow smoke up anyone's ass. We're not going to sugarcoat things for you. Neither we're going to say it as it is. And I think that's what's lacking. There's too much pontification and like whispering this. Just tell people as it is, and they will understand it and they'll respect it more. And that's what we want to do. Tell you as it is. You were a fan of it. And we want other people to become it, and not for, oh, listen to us, we're so amazing. It's not about that. It's just about getting people to think about things differently and not just not be spoon-fed everything all the time. Forever the student. The student? Question things. You have to question things. That is what being a student is.
Awesome, Shihan. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks, listeners. Well done. And Scott, if you're listening, I did gesture. I'll get you on soon. Love to have the balance of the two lads there and the growth of it. And to everyone else that's training hard, more so here in Melbourne, we are out of lockdown, which is great. We were stuck in it for 3 weeks, so we haven't had dojo training. We've just been Zooming like idiots, but now we're back. So up and about there. And to everyone around the world, thank you for listening. Shihan, thank you so much for your time.
Great. Thank you, Sensei. Us.
Thank you.